All right, we're going to get started with the Adobe Animate Assignment 1. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare our assignment file. So we're going to start with new folder, and then we're going to name it with your name and underscore assignment1. Okay, and then we're going to bring up our animate program, and we're going to start with a size. I'm going to go with this one, 800 by 600, and make sure it is an HTML5 canvas. And we'll create. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fit this into the window just so I can see it. And I'm going to save my file under the one I just created. And I'm going to name it. So I have two of them. I'm going to call it imm2370 underscore my name. So my first initial, last name, and then underscore and then the name of the assignment. And click save, make sure it's in the correct folder. And now we can get started with the assignment. So first thing we're going to do, and the next thing also I wanted to do is I wanted to drag the pics that we downloaded right here from Blackboard. I'm going to put that in our assignment folder. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Animate. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import. So we're going to go into File, Import, Import to Stage. And right now, right where the pics, where we just put them, although this is not the one I wanted. So I'm going to go to Desktop. I'm going to go to the one I just created because it was a -1. And I'm going to go into Pics, and then Background, and then Open. And since our stage, right, if you can see the stage under the properties, it's 800 by 600, which it says right here. And when we imported the picture, it was the same size. And the next thing I want to do is down here on the timeline, I'm gonna take out my timeline a little bit here so I can see it a little bit better. And that way, try to bring it up here a little bit, and then I might bring this down a slight bit. I'm going to press the space bar in the hand. I'm just going to bring that up a little bit right up here. I'm going to go about 2 seconds, so about the 48th frame. And you can see our frame rate is 24 seconds per frame, 24 frame per second. So at the 2 second mark, 48th frame, I'm going to right click and insert frame. And there you can see it has a black dot, and at the end you can see the color of this bar means that there is something in it, and that is our background layer. And now I'm going to double click on this layer, on that name right there, double click right there, and I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call that background. Then we'll click off of it. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. And now you'll see that that circle is a blank circle, and it's a different color, which means there's nothing in that. That's where we're going to put our photo 1. So I'm going to rename it to Photo 1, double click, and then rename it Photo 1. Now on this time, I'm going to go File, Import, and Import to Library. And we'll select Photo 1, Open. Now it didn't go to the stage, it went to the library, which is usually over here under Library. Sometimes if it's not over there, you can go up in here, up into the window, and here it is right here under Library. Let's see. So now I want to add a keyframe. In fact, maybe I'll go ahead and now I'll show you. Now I have that Photo 1 layer selected, which we just created. I'm going to select that Photo 1, and in the library, as you can see, you can select the background and see it. See a little preview in the Photo 1 preview. I'm going to go ahead and select that Photo 1, and I'm going to drag it to where I want it, which is right there. So now it's on the stage, and you can see the Photo 1 layer shows now that it's full. The circle has gone, and it changed color. You can select the eyeball. You can see that it's blank underneath to show or hide it. Now I'm gonna select a frame. And I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna insert keyframe. Okay. Now the problem is I want this to kind of be blank at first and then have it just kind of lead in. So I don't want it on both sides of that keyframe. I only want it on the right side of the keyframe. So I'm going to move my playhead down here on this side because I don't want these frames filled. I want this part to be blank. So I'm going to select the photo and I'm going to delete it. And now you can see it went back to a clear circle and it changed colors to where it's not showing up there anymore. And now you can see it let in. I probably don't want that much time because that's almost a second to be blank. So I might add it just closer to the very beginning, so where it just pops in right there in the very beginning. And now we're going to add our second photo. So we're going to go over here to New Layer. Let me move my timeline over to here. I'm going to double click, call it Photo 2. And this time I'm going to select my folder, one of my pictures. I'm just going to select photos 2 through 4, and I'm going to just drag them into the library. And there you see they just went in there. Okay. All right, so now I have my Photo 2 layer. And this time I'm going to put the keyframe in before I put the photo in. And I'll put it to about the 10 mark here. I'm going to select that frame where I want it. This time I'm going to try Insert Timeline Keyframe. It's the same way. I usually don't do it this way just because it seems like there's like an extra step. Insert Timeline and Keyframe. Now if you're doing an F frame, you can do a shortcut for F5, which is what we put in down here originally. But we want a keyframe here. Okay, so now I'm going to select the Photo 2 because we're on the Photo 2 layer. And I'm going to make sure my playhead is on this side because this is where I want my picture to show up. I don't want it on this side. So I'm just going to click it over here, make sure it's over here somewhere. Click the Photo 2, bring it over to where I want it. And now you can see it just showed up. And you can bring the playhead back and see it's not in the beginning. It's only in the second part. Okay, and then we're going to do it again for We're going to click a new layer, double click, call it photo 3. I'm going to, maybe over here, I'm going to right click again and insert keyframe, and then go to my photo 3, drag it over to where I want it, which is about there. And then one more, I'm going to click the new layer, double click, name it photo 4, and I'm going to come into my layer, and I'm going to right click in the middle, insert keyframe. Make sure my playhead is on that second half. Select photo 4 and drag it onto the stage. And you'll also notice each time I create a new layer, it automatically set it up to where it was the same amount of frames, which is the 2-second mark, the 48th frame. So each one of them went to the same mark. Okay, and now I got a pretty good start. Let's just see how that plays. Not too bad. Seems like it plays a little bit long. Maybe we'll make that just slightly less than a second. And we'll just try to stagger these to where they're kind of even. So I'm dragging that solid circle and clicking and dragging to move my keyframes. Move this one over a little bit more. Sometimes they're a little bit hard to drag. See how that looks. That second one's a little bit fast. Maybe we'll move this one over just a little slightly. Try it again. I'm going to hit this, go to the first frame, and then play. That looks good. Okay, so now we got a good start. I think we're going to go now and just position our photos a little bit differently. So I'm going to select my first photo, and I'm going to come over here and select the free transform tool, which is that. So now if I get close to the corners, you'll see it turns into a little circle. If you see that, it changes. That means I can rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it, and then it gives me arrows to show that I can change the size like that. Now I'm going to hit Shift. That'll give me the constrain. That way I can keep the dimensions the same instead of just kind of making it too skinny or something weird. So just hit the Shift and then move it and drag. Shift and drag. But make sure you're on that corner spot, moving it up and down. So we'll try about there. And then unclick. Move it over a little bit. And then we'll do the same thing with the second one. Same thing, just for the free transform tool. You just kind of frame it however you want it. Maybe make this one a little bit bigger. Okay. Now on this one, I'm going to show you a different tool. So I'm going over here to the photo 3 layer. Just make sure your picture is selected. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select the transform tool, which does almost the same thing. It's just a different tool. So right over here we've got our width and height. Right here is the constrain. So there it is, and there it isn't. It's broken, so we want it to be constrained. so the width and height are the same. Oops. Let's see. And I'm just going to click and drag. Oh yeah, and I forgot to show the skews. So maybe we'll make it that big. We'll rotate it a little bit. And you can click down here on the skew. Don't want to skew it too much. I'm going to show the skew on the free transform tool. I was going to show that. So when you're over here on the free transform tool, you can also, when you get that tool kind of close to the edges without, when you get it close to these squares, it allows you to move it in or the size. When you're not close to the squares, it gives you a little up and down arrow, and that will skew it. Sometimes you might accidentally do that, so if you accidentally do that, you don't want it skewed, that's why. Alright, and then we'll go to our last one. That's photo 4. We'll select that photo 4. And we'll try that transform tool again. Rotate. Make it larger. Maybe we'll skew it slightly. Rotate a little bit more. I'm just selecting it to put it away. All right, I'm going to go to the first frame on the playback and then hit play. Okay, that looks good. Now let's see. Now let's see if we want to add some text. Let's go ahead and we'll add some more frames to our background. Maybe we'll go add to about 65. And then I'll select that frame right there. I'm going to right click and then insert frame. Or you can also try the F5. And that's going to add a little bit longer. So now you can see my photo still end, but now my background frame still keeps going. So that's where I'm going to add some text. So now I'm going to add another layer, and there you can see it's blank, and you can see it still goes to the same one, the layer I just created, where I added the frames. So now I'm going to go to where it starts, and I'm going to add a keyframe there. So I'm going to insert, and now this time it's going to be a keyframe instead of a frame, because that's going to separate these two. So now I'm on this side, because this is where I want my text to show up, and then I'm just going to put some text in. So I'm going to come over here and select the text tool. Go in the properties, make sure it's static text. And then you can write something witty here. Does it do the selection tool? Looks good. You can always change the size and color and everything you want if you want. You have the little color picker. I think that looks good. So now, after the pictures are done, and then your text shows up, and you can call it a project here. Say if you want to add a little bit of animation. Well, let me show you. Maybe add some frames. Like let's say we want that last frame to add a little bit longer. This photo right here. So how if I add maybe several frames, and we'll do insert frame. And you can see it added some. So now the other ones will disappear, but that one still remains. Maybe we'll stagger maybe a couple other one below that too, maybe like 3 frames, and then insert frame. So it kind of staggers out. let's try. Maybe we will take our first frame, move it over to the very beginning, and let's add a key. Let's add an animation, a little bit of animation. Let's select that, and we're going to modify, convert the symbol, graphic, and we'll call it pumpkin1. And now I'm going to insert. See, I want to add an animation. So let's see. Make sure it's selected. Insert and create classic tween. Okay, so I want it to kind of lead in. So let's, on the first frame, I want it to be out here. And about right here, just a few frames, I want it to come in. Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, let's try one on our last frame too. Let's try the last one. We'll call it, let's modify, convert to symbol, call it pumpkin4. Select it again, insert, create classic tween. This time I want it to kind of hold. And so I think right here, maybe about right here, I'm going to insert a keyframe. And then I'm going to move it to the last frame and then move it out. Yeah, okay. So I got a little bit of animation in here now. Now I'm going to hit my loop button. I'm going to drag the loop all the way here to the end. I'm going to hit it back to the first frame and then play. There we go. So now we got a little bit of animation, some text. Now all I have to do is publish it. So let's save our file. Probably should have saved along the way. Always a good habit. Now I'm going to publish, so I'm going to go up to, oh, you know what, sorry, I probably cut this off, but up here at the very top, you go under File, Publish Settings, and make sure your JavaScript/HTML is checked, and make sure this is in your folder where it's the right folder. So I'm in Desktop, in one Clark Kent assignment-1 is where I want it. I'm going to do Save, and you can't see it down here, but there's the Publish button down here. I'm going to hit Publish. And then OK. And then I have my HTML here. I'm going to bring up a browser. Preferably Chrome. And I'm going to try that HTML over here. You can also double click on it. And there you can see it works.